Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Face to Face. Yours truly, Mr. Can. And today, and Caprice.
Oh, that's me.
I forgot about you.
Thank you.
And today we have a special guest in the studio who goes by the name of Nicholas.
Nicholas.
What's up, Nicholas?
Glad to be here. How you guys doing?
Very good.
Welcome,
Welcome, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
So, what's new? What have you been up to?
Well, right now we just finished writing the next chapter of 2020, which we won Best Fantasy Short Film at the Retro Avante Grand Film Festival in New York City, and it's been picked up by Troma. And what we've done is, since it got a good write-up on Official Fame magazine, we decided that we should do another chapter, and we're hoping that comes out well, and then we'll do another chapter at the beginning of next year. So when the summer comes to an end, we should be shooting that in Coney Island, Brooklyn.
Nice.
Right, Nesta, you always do this. Nicholas, could you explain to people what it is you do?
Well, I'm actually an actor.
Oh.
I never wanted to be. I grew up, playing sports, but my friends got me into acting. So I got into acting, and I actually studied with two master teachers. One was Peter Miner, who was a soap opera director. He did Days of Our Lives.
Oh, yeah.
And then I studied with Gene Frankel. And then along the way, to keep myself busy and doing film stuff, I began to do a little bit of writing and a little bit of directing.
Right.
So I thought it was great to learn, as being an actor, that you should learn what goes on behind the camera. And I started to do a little bit of writing. So that's where we are with that project, and just keep doing as much as I can.
How did you get into acting?
Yeah, that was my next question.
This is not like a normal,
No, I didn't.
What age did you start acting? How did you get into it? Yeah.
I grew up playing sports. I just wanted to play sports. I didn't care about acting.
What sport?
I played, typical Northeast kid. I played baseball in the summer and ice
Nice.
hockey in the winter.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Okay.
I played in the semi-pro ice hockey league. And
That is rough.
And I got my teeth knocked out.
That is right. That is a rough sport.
This is a true story. I was on the ice one day, and I went in front of the net, and there was a guy standing up next to me, and he was probably up to my shoulders. He's a good 6 inches taller than me. The guy wound up and took a slap shot, hit him right in the face, broke his nose. He was this far away from me. If the puck was a little bit closer to me, it would have just hit me in the chest and bounced off my my pads, and nobody would have gotten hurt. So,
Jeez.
yeah, rough game.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been hitting the face with sticks
Oh,
and
my
everything.
gosh.
So,
Were you good? Were you like a Wayne Gretzky?
Say another one.
I know, right?
Wayne Gretzky,
I'm just calling names. I know, right?
Wayne Gretzky was the great one. I was the great one, Grate. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So actually, my friend was doing this movie when The Royal Witch came out. His name's John Botello, and he said, "Hey, why don't you be in my movie?" And I was like, "No way! I don't want to do any acting."
Really? So
Yeah.
he approached you and
Well, I knew him.
Okay.
We had been friends, and he was doing movies. And he's like, "Oh, you want to be in my movie?" And I said, "No." Oh no! I said, "You know what? I'll do it." And we started filming on Cape Cod, and then I went to San Antonio, Texas, and finished up shooting there. And that's kind of how I got into it. And then I moved to New York, and I studied with the two master teachers, and then been in it ever since.
Is it exciting?
Yeah.
What does that feel like to be an actor?
It's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. I mean, when you're on set and you got your lines down, it's pretty cool. And when you actually do some shooting on location, like in the streets of New York, that's awesome. It's the best. I mean, if you ever watch some TV shows and they're L.A. and it's supposed to be New York and they're shooting in like back lots, it just doesn't have the realism. But when you're in New York and you know, sometimes you're doing shoots and you actually have to wait for planes to go by and sirens to go by and all that. But that's what gives it the ambience, because that's what New York is. I mean, if you're having a regular conversation with someone in the street, you know, trains are going to go by. If you're, you know, like where I am, I live where the train's above ground. And, you're going to have all sorts of noise, but that gives it the true feeling of what New York really is.
I agree. Authenticity. I agree.
For sure.
I agree. Now, tell me about your first role, because I'm very curious. Like, how do you know, like, when your friend approached you, and you finally agreed to it, what did he have you do exactly?
My first role, I was kind of a deranged, unhinged person, and it's kind of stuck with me. I'm a character actor, so I do deranged, I do the police, I do the detective, the mafia, the slime. So that's what I do, and that was my first role. And then during the pandemic, I actually did a movie called Insomniac Frightmare Killers, and it was shot as a psychological thriller, documentary style, and it was the same thing. I played a deranged person, like a cross between Mike Myers and Charles Pickle. So, it's when you get to be something a little bit different than what you really are. That's when the creativity kicks in, and that's when it's the most fun.
Yeah, that was my next question. How fun is that?
It's sometimes like I studied with David Triaca, and he directed an episode of Third Watch, and he that told me that sometimes if you play a role that's like very close to you, you're not as good as when you take a role on where it's someone that's like totally different from you.
I thought it was probably the opposite.
Yeah, I thought so too.
That's what you would kind of think of that, but I think you become more creative and do a little bit more research when you end up playing something that's a little.
Oh, right. Okay. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah.
Why didn't we think of this before?
Yeah, I thought maybe you would do well with something you feel
I don't
comfortable
think there's a
with.
wrong answer. I don't think there's a wrong answer because it's an art, and it's kind of like what works for you may not work for the next person.
Right,
That's the way I kind of look at it.
Wow.
Are you like SAG or anything like that?
I'm not in SAG at this point. I'm SAG eligible, but I know a lot of people that are in SAG and they're not really getting a whole lot of work because there's the restrictions. Once you get SAG, you're not supposed to do
Certain things.
non-union.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
SAG,
there's ways around it. If you're in SAG and you produce something, then you can be in the non-union. But for the most part, if you're an actor in SAG, you're not supposed to do non-union work.
I know about SAG. I used to act in myself.
Well, no, I believe you.
I had a short little career.
Oh, come on. You're a man of many talents. I get it.
I tried it for a little bit. My mom wanted me to get into it. I got into it. And I went to like HP Studios, HP Studios.
I went there.
Actors Connection.
Yeah.
For training and stuff. But it's just like, I don't know. Well, for me, I used to get scared, like reading lines and stuff like that. People say after a while you get used to it, like,
You would.
Do you have that?
you
Did
do.
you have that fear?
Well, kind of at first, but once you have your lines down, there's really nothing to be afraid of because you know what you have to do. If you don't have your lines down, then you can become a little.
Are there any nerves involved here?
At first, I think at first there is, but once the camera gets rolling, you just kind of have to live in front of the camera, and you ignore the camera and just concentrate on being in the moment. And then I don't think once you get used to it and you develop a confidence and trust yourself, then it becomes easier.
That was in high school. I was scared. I was nervous. And a lot of improv. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. That sort of stuff,
It wasn't for you, huh?
No. Yeah.
You definitely have to have patience in the beginning, though.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you find memorizing lines hard or tedious?
If it's Shakespeare, probably.
Oh my gosh.
But other than that, no. I have some tricks that I know of that help me pick up things fast.
No.
Wow.
And how many films have you performed in, like, throughout your career?
With film and television, I've done about 72.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This is real. We're dealing with. We're not talking about high school stuff, all right?
You're talking about me. 72. That's a lot. I mean, some people might say it might be like compared to other people, but for us, that's
Yeah, it's a lot. We don't
Well, I think for character actors, some of them are way up in the 200-300s because they're constantly working and they don't have a lot. They don't have like a lot of material, so they pick up roles, and sometimes they're they only do a couple days or a week, and then they can kind of like move on to another project.
Well, I've done I think only extra work only done, but that sucked. You just didn't do too much with just extra work in the background.
Yeah.
So.
Were there any roles that you had that you didn't like?
Yes, good question.
No.
No?
No,
So
I-
everything you choose, you...
Yeah, I mean, like certain things I know I wouldn't get cast for, and those are the ones I probably wouldn't like. So no, this
Anything like super challenging that you can think of that was like, I've never done this before as an actor. This is very difficult. Oh, you're just that good.
I think I've had some auditions that have been kind of challenging, tough, that I didn't get, but the rest of that's no comment.
All right.
My agent might be listening.
All right.
Wow.
Shout out to the
He's sending
agent.
me to everything, especially if William Morris is listening.
Alrighty
He
then.
dropped the name there. Theater, have you done any like theater work as well?
Yeah, I did theater with David Triaca. I haven't done it in about 15 years.
yeah.
I was looking to try to get back into it when the pandemic hit, and then that's kind of like put the kibosh on it. So I would like to get back into doing some theater. I've done some writing, and some of what I'm writing could work for some theater. But as an actor, beggars can't be choosy. Whatever you can get.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that. I've heard that.
You gotta take what you can get.
Let's talk more about the writing. I'm very interested in that too. When did you make that transition?
Probably like about 10 years into acting. The reason why I kind of got into acting is some good advice that I had gotten once was, if you can't get cast in something, cast yourself by making your own stuff. So I started to. So I started writing.
You're missing that bell today, buddy.
Missing that bell. I know.
He normally has something where he has on his phone.
Yeah, it's a bell.
The bell when you say something like either interesting or
Profound.
or like wow.
Yeah.
Well, you can edit that in and post.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We can talk about that.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
No, so I just started doing some writing on my own, and met up with some actual filmmakers. And what I did at first was I used the material that I wrote for myself and was filmed. Even if it wasn't festival material, I could take bits from it and create a reel. So that's once I started to get a reel, I was starting to get cast for things in certain situations without auditioning, just submitting the reel. So that that helped a lot.
Now, do you prefer writing or acting, or is it
To a
where's
degree,
the passion?
I more so acting. I kind of like to work on somebody else's material because then you kind of develop things a little bit more. I feel when you're doing somebody else's than you're doing your own. Because when you're writing your own, before you even start running your lines or doing anything, you wrote it yourself. You've already got it in your head and in your mind what this character is going to do. But when you're doing someone else's, they may have an idea of how the character's supposed to be, and you may have an idea of how the character's supposed to be, so you've got a couple different viewpoints. So I think it's a little, for me, probably somebody else's material.
Yeah, so is that, because when I think of something like that, if you write something and then you give it to the actor, and the actor, you want the actor to, create it, make it his or her own, right?
Right.
Do you find that detaching yourself from, like, the way you wrote it, is it difficult to do that? Because it's kind of your baby. You know what I mean?
Sometimes it is, because you've kind of got this image in your head, and you kind of like it's kind of a block. So sometimes it is a little bit difficult to separate your idea from someone else's idea, but you've got to. I think you've got to look at it from both sides and then develop
Meet in the middle?
Yeah, to be in the middle, or shoot the scene a few different ways,
Oh,
a few
yeah.
different viewpoints, and then whichever comes out the best is, what you would end up putting in post production for the final product.
Have you ever performed with any big actors or any actors of?
Nicholas is a big actor. What are you talking
I
about?
mean, any known actors. I mean, let me know.
As non-union, not really.
Not really.
No.
No.
I would like to, though.
Who's your favorite actor, though, by the way? A couple of actors that you really look up to.
For comedy, it's Mo Howard, Mo from the Three Stooges.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm gonna say that now.
and then like modern day would be like Clint Eastwood.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why Clint Eastwood?
I just like Eastwood is kind of subtle and doesn't try to overact, and I like how he does that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood is the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of great stuff.
Oh, I thought you were going to read something.
No,
from
no,
there. Look, I could go on a tangent because I have so much.
Yeah, go right ahead, buddy.
Okay, all right.
Take the floor.
So I'm sorry, I keep going back and forth, but with the writing aspect, I'm just so. I need to know. Like,
Yeah, we'll stick with that.
Like-
I know this because I know what the writing thing is going to get you. Because I know he's an actor and a writer. So I bet you when he say he's a writer, it's that belt
yeah,
because you write as well.
Yeah, but I just wanted, like, what's your process, like when you're writing?
Usually what I do first is I will either write a short story based on what I'm going to script out, or an outline, or both. So usually, like when an idea pops in my head, I will write a short story, and I will take my time. So I'll write, and then I'll come back to it maybe the next day or the next week, and maybe take about 2 weeks of that. And then I'll outline almost what the scenes will be, almost in like a shot list. And then when you got your short story and your outline, then I'll go back and write my script off of that. And then
okay.
do some readings with, if it's like the project that I had now, we'd read with the people that are involved in it, and then we would do rewrites, and then do rewrites. And then when you actually shoot, even though you have your script, we might improv or improvise what's already on the script, just to have maybe a different idea might pop in when you're actually on set and say, you know what, let's try this, let's try that. So that's pretty much my process. I just try to keep things very, very simple. I'm not, I trained for acting. I don't have any training for writing whatsoever with anything specific. So I just write what I think works best for me.
Okay. Okay, so obviously acting and writing are two different things. Oh, yeah, that was my next question. So I know that sometimes writers, you have a team. It's not just one person a lot of times. Have you ever been in a situation where, let's say, you're really not liking an idea?
Not necessarily. Most of the writing that I do is with Dave Sweeney, and we're kind of like on the same page. We've known each other for like 20 years. So we wrote a few projects, and usually I'll write, when we get to the scripting it out, I'll write it to him. I'll write it out, and then I'll send it to him. He'll write, make some adjustments, send it back to me by way of email and Word and things like that. So, it's very important to stay on the same page and not, have like different views on what the script should be, or how the characters should go, or what direction things should go in.
Oh, that's good.
Because that slows down the process.
Yeah, that's good. You have somebody to bounce who is like-minded and who bounces ideas and stuff like that. What about the consistency of it? Because I've been told, and I've read some places, that as a writer, it's good to be consistent in your writing because the brain is a muscle, and you have to keep up the creative juices flowing. Do you find it difficult? Like, how do you continuously do it? Is it like a process? Do you have like, I don't know, you wake up in 10 minutes, you write a little something, and then you kind of just leave it alone? Like,
yeah, kind of like that. I don't really like to cram. I kind of like to write a little bit and then take time away from it and think about it. Kind of like if you're studying for an exam, I could never cram the night before. You got to study a little bit leading up to the final. So it's kind of like that process. I just write a little bit, put it aside, dwell on it, come back, pick up where I left off, that kind of process.
Do you get writer's block?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes.
What do you do around that? Any techniques?
Just put it aside. Go away from writing and go back into some acting, work on some monologues or work on some scenes, and then come back. I don't write a lot.
Okay.
I try to write, like during the pandemic, I wrote the Insomniac Frightmare Killers with my friend Drew Samuelson, and that from the beginning to the end was, from the time we first wrote it to the last day of editing, was probably about 6 months, and it was a 71-minute film. So that's when I did the writing, and then 2020 had some pretty decent success. So we
Right.
decided to write another chapter of that. Probably going to write a third chapter during the winter. So I don't write often. I try to do mostly as much acting as I can.
So as far as the acting is concerned, when you first saw yourself,
You got a smile on his face.
like, how did that feel? Like,
Yeah, that's true. That's a great one.
I'm serious.
Yeah,
'Cause
I know.
It must, like, how does it feel?
It's a great question. When you do a scene and it comes out good, it's a rush. But watching yourself on TV, I'm one of the type, or the watching the film or the show, I'm one of the actors that's like, I don't like it because
okay.
things come in your head. Oh, I should have done
I
this.
should've done
You're your own critic.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's like me. I'm like that too.
Right.
I should have done this
Yeah,
better.
so it's like,
But to everyone else, it looks good and it's
Yeah.
fine. But to you, you're like, yeah, you're worth critic.
Also, you try to avoid the things that you've done.
Yeah, like when 20 first came out, I watched it, and I was like, I was actually half asleep at the time. I was like, wait a minute, what happened? Wait a minute, what? And then I went back, and I actually went back and watched it probably like a year and a half later. Like, oh, all right, yeah. All right. This is pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, you're probably not going to listen to this.
I know, right?
Yeah, I don't like my voice.
You know, like, you're right.
I wish I could sing though.
You have a very soothing. You could read a book. Like, you could be a pretty good audible. Yeah.
You see, I try to get voiceover work. I just can't get it.
Fiverr, man.
Really? Wait, is that how? What?
Fiverr is a website where you do like little side gigs. People do a lot of voiceovers and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk after
Okay.
this. Yeah, because what? Like, didn't know that.
It's a website, so you could get for $5. Someone could do like a design for you if you would get a design, like someone in Pakistan or whatever.
Yeah.
So they do editing, voiceovers,
Really?
all kind of stuff. Producers do stuff. Yeah, it's a site. It do a million different things called Fiverr. You never heard of Fiverr?
No.
Yeah. Small gigs, yeah. So check it out, Fiverr. You put your work up there, some voiceovers, you read some scripts, and then people will contact you, and you have like 48 hours to give people their product. They'll, the money when it's completed, when they like what you've done, the money comes to your account, and then they get.
How much Fiverr paying you?
Huh?
How much Fiverr paying you?
No, I'm not. I didn't say, but yeah, sorry.
Where can we find your movie? Like the latest one that you're acting in?
The latest one, the latest one that I did is Insomniac Frightmare Killers. That's currently submitted to festivals.
Oh, okay.
So usually, unless you're, A-listers in Hollywood, or even if you are, most of the time, when your movie's done, the first step is you try to submit. Well, what I do is I try to go to festivals, and then after festivals, then you kind of go to the streaming circuits. So, like, I've got a few things that are going to Troma.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Troma?
No.
You ever heard of The Toxic Avenger?
No.
Troma's well known for horror movies. That's their genre.
Oh.
And they have a lot of like slasher types and horror
It's
movies.
a streaming service.
That's what I'm saying. It's a streaming service like Netflix and Hulu and
Yeah.
Tubi and stuff.
Oh, and it focuses on horror.
Horror, just horror.
Horror's
Okay.
their genre.
Because most of the streaming services, they break it down to action, thriller, this, that. So it just
Yeah, horror.
Horror.
Okay.
Check it out.
That is that your comfort zone? You like scaring people? Nicholas.
He looks like one of those guys. This is an actor. He looks like, oh my God, I'm trying
Like
to
he'd strangle you?
Yeah, I know.
Well, as a character actor, you're typecast, so whatever you can whatever your niche is, you got to find it and stick with it.
Troma Entertainment?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
I was at a bar once, and some girl told me to do stand-up. And I think she was like a booker for a comedy club, and I was like, nah, that was a mistake. I probably should have done that.
You did it?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I should
okay.
have.
Yeah.
No, that's
That's scary. I can't do that.
well. I think like a lot of if you go from doing stand-up to acting, sometimes it's difficult. I think if you do it the other way around, because an actor, you're already a performer.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's probably not as difficult. Some well-known comedians might not agree with me.
But still, like writing comedy there's an art there. The writing, the callbacks of the stories and the cohesive, storytelling and all that stuff that's not easy. That's not easy. I tried to write a 5-minute stand-up comedy routine.
Did it work?
No, of course it didn't work. I don't know what I'm doing. You just think that, you're just going to go up there and tell a bunch of jokes. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I can do it.
But probably the best thing to do is might be just kind of keep it personal and tell
Yeah.
jokes that way instead
Yeah.
of just going out and whatever's hot at the time, telling jokes about Trump or whatever isn't
Yeah.
probably the way to go, because that's what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you kind of like do things that's different from what everybody else is doing, it'll be better for you.
Did you ever want to do like comedy seriously?
Stand up, at that point I didn't, but at this point beggars can't be choosy, so whatever it takes. I also wrote an album.
What?
Yeah.
A man of many talents here.
What is it, a jack of all trades?
Yeah, jack of all trades. A renaissance man, if you will.
There we go.
What's the album about?
Yeah.
It's just the lyrics to songs. They would probably work for someone like Taylor Swift or someone like a rock band.
Now we're getting somewhere, right?
Okay. I mean, yeah.
Can you sing?
No.
Can you?
No, but can we tell your... No. We'll just focus on him.
Yeah, it's not about me.
Well, I think these days everybody can sing with the auto.
Auto-tune is life.
Yeah.
It is life. But yeah, I'm not a singer now.
So, yeah, let us know about this album now.
Yeah, please.
Oh, I just wrote the lyrics. I got like 9 or 10 songs, just the lyrics, no music written to it. And
Oh, it's just, okay.
yeah, I haven't done anything with it yet. I'm trying, if there's, a band or a singer that's looking for lyrics, or, I'd probably even work with hip hop. It's kind of like, modern, and you put some beats to it. It'd be pretty good.
You're a
One-
ghostwriter too? Like what? That's awesome. When did you get involved in that?
Probably like a year and a half ago.
Before the pandemic.
Yeah, once that hit, it kind of like stalled everything for everything. And
Do you think the pandemic helped you a little bit?
You beat me to it by a second.
I was going to ask him about that before. He kept saying the pandemic.
Yeah.
He said something the pandemic made it seem like it was good. Then now he said stalled it. So.
Yeah.
well, to a degree, I think what was happening with movies before the pandemic hit, I don't think people were going to the theaters as much.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
before the pandemic hit, streaming sites were starting to
Right, okay,
really
sure.
become
Right,
popular.
That's true.
So now with the pandemic, there's even more streaming sites. So with movies and with the streaming sites and with the quality of being able to watch the movies from your own home, it'd be cheaper and easier just to watch, make yourself something to eat, turn on the
Yeah,
TV and
yeah.
stream from home. So I think streaming content is helping out with a lot of people. But of course, with the streaming content and with YouTube and all that, you get 900 million people that are posting things on a daily basis. So you got to be able to market yourself through, what everybody else is doing as well.
So am I in the minority when it comes to going to cinematic adventures, going to the movies? Because I love
I
going
still
to
love it, yeah. I still love going to the theaters, yeah.
yeah.
I just think you're not in the minority. I just think that people aren't going as much. So, like, if people are like, instead of going to like maybe if people were going to like, 12 movies a year once a month. I think people are cutting down to going to maybe less.
That's true.
Do you go by yourself to the movies or do
Sometimes,
okay.
yeah. Sometimes it's best I go by myself.
But if you're taking a young lady out,
Yeah.
you,
So,
you go take her out to the movies or
yeah,
stream it?
I'm
at your
very
house?
classic. Yeah, I'll go to
So
cinematic venues.
no Netflix and chill.
Nah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
we could do that too.
Yeah,
How much does it cost to go to a movie these days?
yeah. This should drop the price now. Shouldn't the price be dropped?
I actually haven't gone since it reopened up, but the last time I checked, it was for adults like what?
Almost $20.
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah,
why not?
around there. Because I'm going in the city a lot of times.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's yeah.
I also think, with the pandemic and people getting laid off and people may not have as much money, it's $20 for a movie compared to like spending.
Yeah.
And that's without
for
the
this-
popcorn. or
Yeah, but
Exactly.
it's for me. It's the atmosphere.
Right, atmosphere, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like certain movies, like certain action adventure movies, you
Yeah.
want to be at
Horrors too.
theater.
Yeah.
Horrors too.
Yeah.
It's the atmosphere because also too, like people will love the days when you used to go to Blockbuster, just going inside a store, just shopping for movies, or going to Toys R Us. Now everything's on Amazon. Everything you're buying online. Just being a kid and going into the store and seeing all those toys and stuff like that. The
That's
atmosphere.
I never really thought of it
Took
like
away.
that.
Yeah,
I never really thought of it like that.
It's
but yeah.
more convenient, yeah, to click one click on Amazon and it gets delivered to you, but it takes away that,
Yeah.
that experience.
Plus, Amazon has movies as well.
Yeah,
You-
yeah.
They
I mean,
do,
They got
they
like
do.
everything on Amazon.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
you still like the experience of still going there.
I do because it's there's something about sitting in a dark room
Right,
with
yeah.
like a good sound system.
Sound system, yeah.
Right.
Even if you
Big
have one,
screen.
yeah. Even if you have one in your house, it's fine.
Yeah.
But like sharing that, like for example, when I went to go see Endgame, the Avengers.
Yeah.
The energy was so palpable. It was an amazing experience. It was exhilarating, and you're not gonna have that same energy like when the crowd goes crazy and everybody's applauding. Like you feel it, and I love that,
Love
especially when you have like a good crowd.
I
you know?
agree. Yep.
Yeah, I think comedy and drama is good to
Yeah.
watch from home.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
like you said, the surround sound and everything with the actions and the horrors, good for the to go see in the theater.
Yeah. That's why I love going to the movies. I really do. It's not about the popcorn. It's not about the overpriced snacks. It's not about anything. It's just really
Just
about
wearing overcoats.
Yeah.
Stuff in.
Exactly. You know the vibes. Nicholas knows the vibes. That's it. Yeah. You sneak in your stuff and you just park it.
I mean, if you're gonna go to the movies and spend $20 on a
That's what I'm
ticket,
saying.
and then you're gonna buy a soda and a popcorn and a
Right.
candy bar, there's
I-
probably another $20.
Of course, I brought the ticket. Look, you got a purse, right?
Yeah.
Put all the stuff. We're gonna go to Rite Aid. You know what I mean? Am I wrong though?
No, you're not. I mean, they're not frisking you.
They're not.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yep.
I hope
yet,
not.
anyway.
I know, right? I was about to say, not yet. Yeah, it's true. But yeah, I won't let cinematic adventures die in my life because I just like the experience. I like it. Even though again, Netflix is cool at home, but it's just different. It's different.
Yeah, I agree.
That vibe is you can't get that anywhere else. I've never been to a festival before. I've always wanted to go. I've always seen those commercials and like
festival, yeah.
Yeah, they're fun for sure. They're
Yeah.
fun because when you go to the festival, you see yourself on the big screen, and that's pretty cool.
And a lot of awards for like these independent, these independent films at these festivals, right?
Oh yeah, definitely for sure. Yeah, there's awards and there's prizes and
Prizes, yeah.
there's a lot of festivals though. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of them. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. Some are like top of the line, and some of them are, not so great. But
okay, all right.
yeah, when you're submitting your film to festivals, you've got to do your research and.
Also, they're all not the same. is what
No,
you-
I mean
okay.
like the high-end stuff is kind of like hard to get into, but I actually did this improv skit that we actually shot on the New York City subways, and it was almost like a live performance. It was really, really cool, and that's available on YouTube. But we submitted that to the Manhattan Film Festivals,
Right.
And the Festival of Cinema in Queens, and the Coney Island Film Festival, and that played in all of them. It's called Bubble Touch Helpline, The Kisser. And,
Okay, what is that about?
it's about
That's a weird title.
a creepy guy that's walking around the subways,
Yeah, check that out.
kissing people on the cheek and putting bugs in their mouth.
What?
We
gotta check that out, right?
Yo, we're definitely watching that.
It's only about
We're
8.5
definitely watching
minutes.
that. I don't care if it was 20. We're watching that.
Oh yeah, and
for sure.
And we shot that on moving trains. We shot that. I think we shot that. It was towards the end of summer 2018, and it hit the festivals in 2019. And that's kind of cool. A lot of people in New York, it's just another day. So when they see people shooting things on the subway and doing weird things, like just another day in
Just
New York.
another day in New York.
Yeah, that's what's kind of cool about shooting almost like a live performance.
Who came up
in
with
New
that
York City.
idea?
Not me.
I would say, hey, do you write it for that one?
No.
Who has the writing credit for that?
This IMDb, how do you get on that? Like, I know you search someone's name and show you everything they've done.
Right. Well, IMDb is almost like a who's who in the film and television industry, and basically you can create a free account for yourself, and then it's a database. So
Database, yeah.
you've got to fill out basically a form, and and they verify your information that you're submitting is a real film or TV
Are
show.
you in there too?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Search you out. See what you've done. It shows you everything you've done.
Right.
Yeah, it shows you put the actor's name and it shows you everything their name, their birthday, and everything, where they're from, and all the films they've done.
Okay, here comes the personal question. Brace for it. Are you happy?
Only when I'm performing.
Ooh.
And that's, I believe that's what Prince said.
Is that what he said?
I think
Nice.
towards the end, Prince was, when he was depressed, it's because he wasn't performing. Yeah.
So,
Popping those pills.
so performing really does something for you.
Yeah, creativity is the thing.
I love talking to creatives. I love it. Oh, your brain.
Because you can relate to them.
Yes.
It's like, and it's like there's creatives, you can sit down with an actor, a singer, a painter, and it's all art forms,
Yeah.
Right,
but it's
yeah.
different form of
Different
art.
form,
So
right,
you
right,
can
exactly.
all relate
I
to
love it.
one
I
another.
love it so much.
Yeah, and you could probably put in maybe a model, a runway model, and maybe a star athlete, and it's all different types of performances, but they can all relate.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
To get in that mindset, I don't like the path of an actor. So are you telling me that it just started once your friend, and you agreed to be in your friends? That's where it all just opened up for you?
That's where it started for me. I mean, people get into it, all different sorts of ways, but that's how it started for me.
Do you see yourself doing this forever?
To be honest with you, I always thought of myself looking ahead as being like a 75-year-old man drinking a cup of coffee at McDonald's at 2 a.m., talking to a bunch of other actors that said, I auditioned for this and I auditioned for this. I actually auditioned for Uncut Gems.
Oh, great movie.
And I didn't see it, but I actually auditioned for it. The casting director, she was great. I ended up having a strong hold for it. So if the actor would have backed out, I would have gotten into that, and I would have been doing scenes with Adam Sandler.
Sandler.
That'd have been crazy.
Wasn't my boy Mike Francesa was in there too?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, Adam Sandler's the main guy.
Yeah.
So the guy from the sports show of
Yep.
Francesa, he was inside there.
It was a really very
I think it was good. It was good. You liked it?
I liked it a lot, yeah. I liked it a lot.
Did you see it in the cinema?
No, actually, I didn't. I streamed that one. I streamed that one. That's good. That's all I need to know. Nicholas is
There's a million apps on cell phones.
Yeah,
Download an
my
app
cell
real
phone
quick.
doesn't work. That's where I would usually do it, but my screen is all messed up right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, you get it.
You get it?
I get it.
He's invited to the barbecue. I know. For sure. Great. What's
Well,
some-
actually, I think the three of us would make a good comedy team.
oh my gosh, the back and forth.
But you don't want to do live performances?
No, hey, he got me. That was back when I was a teenager.
Well, there's certain substances that you can take that will relax you when you're performing live.
Are you familiar with those substances?
No, I'm not, sir.
Okay.
Well, I'm not either. This is just hearsay.
Not me.
So we see the real actor in Nicholas coming out now.
I love it though. I love it. I love it.
What are some of the difficulties in the business? I know it's not
the
a shady
business side of it.
style.
Yeah,
Shady
you
stuff.
got-
Who do you trust?
Yeah, I mean, when you're first starting out, there's shady photographers and shady people that do your reels and stuff
Yeah.
because it's. When I watched Inside the Actors Studio with James Wimpton once, and this was a while back, and they had said there was over 100,000 actors in New York, and less than 2% were making their money alone acting.
Wow.
So if you're a shady photographer or a shady agent, you know there's a lot of people that are desperate to get into the business. There's a lot of
Right, yeah.
desperate people in there, and I've done some things with people that are relatively starting out, and they think, oh, well, once this movie's out, it's going to be seen by Martin Scorsese, and I'm going to be a star.
It doesn't.
It doesn't work.
Doesn't work like that, right?
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that are preying on the vulnerable. So when if you're starting out, with the internet especially, you've got to do your research and see who you are going to be working with or who's going to be doing your
Right.
your headshots and things like that.
So this is a
it's
cutthroat business, yeah.
It is. It's a miserable cutthroat business. I've been cats and things, and then you never hear back from them again, and then
Wow, what is that?
I know.
it's. I mean, it's really cutthroat. And when you're in the trenches, you really see what it's like day to day. So it's tough.
Yeah, because that's people's incomes we're talking about, their livelihoods and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So to play with that, like something simple, not calling me back, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
Why don't you just call me back, or and let me know that I didn't get the gig, and then I could go try somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, I think also you've got to be like a closer in baseball. If you're out there and you gave up the winning home run in the bottom of the ninth, turn the page, you might be out the next day having to close again. So you've got to have that mentality.
Yeah,
water off the
that's
duck's
really good,
back.
yeah.
So if you have an audition and you aced it, don't really think that you definitely got it. Just move on. In
Ace it
case you
again.
didn't, and go to your next audition, go to your next role. Just no looking back.
And it should be the opposite too, because that's where if you didn't ace it, don't think okay that's the end and no be all keep going.
Yeah.
I didn't take rejection really well. Sometimes I always thought okay damn I didn't get something's wrong with me. I always take it personal whatever, and that will stop me from wanting to keep going on.
Yeah, you've got to have thick skin.
Thick skin, yeah, that's what it said.
And to a degree, this may not make sense to you. Thick skin, and to a degree, develop an ego.
Wow.
Because
wow.
if you
Expand on that, yeah.
because if you do an audition, and then let's say you did really well, but you don't get it, you've got to have thick skin to turn from it. But you've also got to have an ego to say, you know what? Screw them. I didn't get it, but I'm going to get the next one.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Okay, makes sense. I got it, yeah.
It's kind of like you've
I
got
do
to
understand
have.
that.
Yeah, you got to kind of like you got to have thick skin, a little bit of an ego, and a lot of confidence in yourself.
The first time you had to do an audition, did you feel nervous? Like,
Yeah, the first time I did, because I was just starting out, and I didn't really necessarily know what I was doing. But once you do them a little bit and you get used to it, it's not really that difficult. It's kind of like if if you're a baseball player and you're first at bat, you might be kind of nervous, but once you start doing it for a while, it's like, you know what, I'm not as nervous anymore.
oh, so you have to, okay.
Yeah.
So, from your expertise, I have a question. Now, some time ago auditioned for to be an extra in Marvel's Jessica Jones, that show. Now, when I went to the place, I got into the room, right? It was a room where they set like everybody up. They took our picture and all that stuff. And they sat us down, and then a young lady came out and called 3 of us out of that room. Then she then said, "You guys aren't necessary. We'll keep in touch." Is my career over?
It's not over. How long ago was that?
It was a while ago. It was definitely before the pandemic, because I haven't gone that one thing you're talking about, thick skin and ego. I was hurt.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be an extra, and I
See, that doesn't really make sense. Technically, for extra work,
Actual, yeah.
I mean, there's casting agencies in New York City that do specifically extra work, and technically, if you just go online, and then basically also you have to do, for the most part, is submit
Your headshots.
a headshot or a picture. You're just doing extra work. So for extra, you're not really speaking or anything like
Yeah,
that.
right, that's
so
what
you
I
don't
thought.
really have to even audition for extra work.
yeah. So I was so bad.
Yeah, that was that.
You couldn't even get extra work, you had
I couldn't even
that
get extra work. That's what I'm saying.
That wasn't you. Trust me.
Yeah.
No.
So my career is over then.
No, I wouldn't think. I wouldn't say
No,
that.
keep going. So I should keep going.
Yeah. If you want to do extra work and be on film sets and stuff, not necessarily make a career out of it. If you want to do it now and again and whatnot,
Yeah.
there's casting agencies specific for extra work, and you could always submit your picture to them, and then they probably have an email blast that they might send out to people that are on their mailing list and say, we need extras for so-and-so, and then if you're available, you can always respond and say, yeah, I'm
You just gave me
available.
my confidence back. Thank you very much, Nicholas. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
Yeah, just remember, thick skin and develop an ego.
Yeah,
and
I
go
think
on to the next one.
I'm just going to go with voiceover jobs then. I'm just going to try my luck there.
There you go.
I'll just do that. I'll stay out of this. It's like thick skin.
Nicholas, so before we wrap it up, would you like to say anything? And ask him another question?
Oh, no. He's giving me my confidence back. I'm pretty confident right now.
Let people know how they can get in contact with you, and
Find your work
find your
and things
work
like
and
that.
that things,
Mhm.
social media,
Social
website,
media.
email.
Well, my name's Nicholas M. Garofolo, Garofolo, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm also on IMDb. You should be able to contact me through that,
Nice.
and that's probably the best way I would.
And that's Nicholas.
Now, how about some of the shows you've done? Is it on YouTube? Any clips on
Yeah.
YouTube that you have? They can check out some of your work.
If you search my name in YouTube, things will come up. My reel will come up. Monologues will come up. Some trailers for things that I've written and been in have come. Will be on there as well. So I do have material on YouTube. You can contact me through YouTube as well.
We got to see that Subway thing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you,
Gotta
what's the name of that
see
Subway?
We have to see it.
It's called Bobo Touch Helpline, The Kisser, and it was the episode begins in a actual garage in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So I play a guy that just got out of prison, and I own a garage, and the mechanics were renting out the garage to people that are having a helpline. So that's how it begins, and then someone calls for the help, and we go out on the subway to take care of business. So that's on YouTube, and if you just did like a Google search, Bobo Touch Helpline, The Kisser, that will come up.
And leave a like, people. Come on.
Yeah, I know.
What are you guys doing? Just viewing stuff and then not liking. Like it.
Yeah.
I want to ask you that. If you had to give any advice to someone just starting off,
Great
in the
question.
business, what would it be?
If you're just starting off, I'd say begin with a technique class. An acting technique class, and then just work your way into a scene study, and then maybe some improv, and just constantly work on your material as much as you can. but just start with some basic training. So a lot of actors have made it without much training, if any at all, and then some people have like drama degrees from Ivy League schools. To me, that's a little bit much, because most of it, I think you need to develop on your own, because it is an art.
Yeah.
So just if you get like some of the basics, like you had said, you did HB Studios.
Yeah. Is it still there?
Yeah. As of right now, a lot of training is online. Hopefully,
Because of COVID?
Yeah. Hopefully, before the end of the year, they'll be back to doing some in-person classes in the studios out throughout New York City. But if you can get doing some in-person studying, start with a technique class and then a scene study and then an advanced scene study and improv, and just get some basic foundation under your belt, and then just constantly working on things. If you can't really get into too many projects, do some student films and things like that. And then on your own, if no one's around, just work on some monologues.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
He mentioned something I was trying to figure out the question I was going to ask him, and then, you know sometimes someone talks and then you remember the question. How does it feel when you've worked on your craft for so many years with the school and all this stuff, worked on your craft, and as someone who's new, raw, doesn't have any skill at the moment, but they get a big gig just based on their look.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've been.
Like, how the hell did he get? He's not even. He or she's not even talented.
Yeah, there's a lot of who you know has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, that too.
There's so many different.
Or maybe you just have to look for the role that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Like who you sleep with. And things.
Yeah, a lot. There's a lot of things.
It's a good way to the top. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been a hired gun to be an audition reader for films, and I've done a few different ones, and the legitimate casting directors want people that can act. I did one where there was a married woman, so she just wanted an actress, but there was like beautiful actress after beautiful actress after beautiful actress coming in, and it doesn't mean you're going to get the role, because beautiful women in the city are a dime a dozen.
True.
So you've got to have.
You hear that, ladies?
You got to have. You got to have.
Listen, y'all better act right.
You got to have some skill and talent.
Skill and talent, all right?
Yeah, Dime a dozen out here. Get me started.
Let's not go there.
No, I'm just saying.
Talking about me. Yeah. All right, Nicholas, it's a pleasure.
Nicholas, you're the man.
You're the man. We heard a lot from you today,
Thanks
right?
for having me.
Seriously.
All right. This wraps up another episode of Face to Face. Yours truly, Nesta Can and Caprice.
That's me.
We out of here.